does understanding the role of nutrients have to do with intentional living? You might be asking yourself. Well, let's step back a minute and deliberately think about it. So intentional living places a lot of demands on your body because when you live with intent, you face your limiting beliefs, you stay true to your values, and you let your authentic self be seen every single day. And all of that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of emotional energy. It takes a lot of intellectual energy. And that's why it's important for us to have a basic understanding of the nutrients that our body needs so that we can use those nutrients to fuel our personal growth. So we began discussing the role nutrients play in our personal growth in my last post, One Surprising Way Daily Habits Sabotage Personal Growth. And we discussed the importance of vitamins and how they affect gene expression, but we didn't really get into specifics about the vitamins. So that's what we're going to do today because you know I'm not going to leave you hanging. You know I'm going to follow it up with some good information for you here. So today we're going to practice intentional living by focusing on 3 nutrients in particular. We're going to talk about sulforaphane, vitamin D, and the B vitamins. And we'll discuss the benefits of each one, where each one can be found, and the suggested daily intakes of them. But before we get into the specifics, I have to throw out a disclaimer here that I am not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a biologist, I'm not a scientist in any way. So all of what I'm telling you is based on research that I've done, and I've included links to all my research in the narrative post, so you can do some research of your own and see where I'm getting my information from. My goal is to help you embrace an intentional living lifestyle. And I believe that taking care of your body is an important aspect of that lifestyle. So I'm here to pique your interest. I'm here to get you curious and share with you the information that I have. But again, I am no means an expert on this. And to make sure there's no illusion that I am, I'm going to do something I don't normally do. And I'm going to read from the narrative post for the remainder of this audio or video. Again, because I don't want it to look like I'm an expert on this and it's just coming out of my head. So here we go. So, we're not going to skip the basics, first of all. Before we get ahead of ourselves too much, let's take a step back and make sure we have a basic understanding of vitamins, what they do, and how they're absorbed into our bodies. First, it's important to understand that our bodies cannot produce vitamins on their own, yet our bodies depend on vitamins for vital functions, including building muscle and bone and healing wounds, fighting infections, preventing cell damage, making use of nutrients, capturing and using energy. And that's why it's important to be intentional with our diets and make sure we're getting the nutrients that make sure that we're getting the nutrients that will support our mental and physical health. Not all vitamins are created equal. So next, it's important for us to know that not all vitamins are created equal. They are transported, absorbed, and excreted by our bodies in different ways, which leads us to discussing the terms water-soluble and fat-soluble. You've probably heard these terms before, but do you really know what they mean? So water-soluble vitamins are found in the watery parts of fruits, vegetables, and grains. When these vitamins are digested, they can pass directly into our bloodstream because our blood is water-based. And our blood can then transport the vitamins around our bodies, and they are easily released through our kidneys. So for this reason, water-soluble vitamins need to be replenished daily. Vitamin C and B vitamins are water-soluble, to give you a couple examples. Then we have fat-soluble vitamins. They're a bit more finicky. They need fat to dissolve. They cannot pass directly into our bloodstream. So they have to attach to a protein first, and the protein drives the vitamins around like a little Uber. It drives the vitamins around through our bloodstream, and the vitamins make it part of the way through our digestive system and are absorbed through our intestinal walls. So that's how that's how the fat-soluble vitamins get into our bloodstream. Then they pack themselves away in our liver and fat cells. And from there, our bodies ration the fat-soluble vitamins as needed. And that's why we don't need to replenish them as often as their water-soluble counterparts. So they last. They stay in our system longer. Alright, so let's go through a quick rundown of the different vitamins. Generally speaking, this is what each vitamin is responsible for. Vitamin A produces white blood cells, our immune system, and improves vision and helps shape bones. The B complex vitamins, there are 8 of them, help release energy from food and help us use that energy. Vitamin C helps fight infection and makes collagen, which provides structural support to connective tissues, muscles, bones, and skin. Vitamin D gathers calcium and phosphorus to make bones. Vitamin E is an antioxidant that helps protect or slow damage to cells. And vitamin K makes proteins that cause our blood to clot. So that kind of gives you a basic idea of what each vitamin does. But now we're going to go back to the 3 nutrients that we wanted to focus on today. So we're going to hone in on sulforaphane, vitamin D, and B vitamins because they are the nutrients that popped up in my gene expression research the most. First, sulforaphane. So this is the cool one. So if you listen to only this part of the video and stop, this is going to be the best information right here. Sulforaphane is one of the most potent compounds you've never heard of. At least I hadn't. It activates Nrf2 more effectively than any other compound. So, what the heck is Nrf2? Nrf2, which is NFE2 related factor 2, whatever that means, Nrf2 controls over 200 genes. Many of these genes are meant to be switched on, and Nrf2 is the one to do it. More specifically, Nrf2 targets genes that play a role in managing inflammation. Inflammation can lead to oxidative stress, which can lead to pretty much any disease you can think of. So basically, sulforaphane and Nrf2 are about the best protectors and defenders you could hope for. Here are a few things that Nrf2 does. It activates anti-inflammatory genes, it deactivates inflammatory genes, it detoxifies harmful compounds like carcinogens, and it lowers oxidative stress. So where can we find the sulforaphane needed to fire up our Nrf2? It can be found in cruciferous vegetables. So these are broccoli, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, garden cress, bok choy, and other similar green leaf vegetables. But the very best source, according to Rhonda Patrick, PhD, who is a biomedical scientist, she says the very best source is broccoli sprouts. And broccoli sprouts are 3 to 5 day old broccoli plants. The sprouts contain up to 100 times more sulforaphane than mature broccoli. And Patrick suggests that you grow your own sprouts because the ones on store shelves are prone to bacterial infection and plus they're expensive. You can find a link to a medically reviewed post from Wellness Mama that walks you through the steps to grow sprouts based on advice from Patrick at the end of this post. At the end of the narrative post, there's a link to that, to how to grow sprouts. So what can you do with the broccoli sprouts? Well, Patrick puts hers in a smoothie or sprinkles them on her salads. So that's how she uses them. And here's another tip from her. So the trick is you don't receive as much sulforaphane from vegetables if they have been heated. But a colleague of hers found that if you sprinkle mustard seed powder, and she said though it has to be really fresh mustard seed powder, it needs to have a bit of a bite to it. If you sprinkle the mustard seed powder on heated vegetables, it actually produces sulforaphane. So that's an option if you don't like to eat raw vegetables. And as far as supplements go, there's only one that she knew of, and it's called Prostaphane, that contains the amount of sulforaphane that it claims to. So basically her suggestion, again I'm talking about Rhonda Patrick, her suggestion was to grow your own sprouts. Okay, so that was a cool information to me because I had never heard of sulforaphane before. Now on to vitamin D. So vitamin D is important for strong bones and teeth, and we probably know that. But as we learned in my post, One Surprising Way Daily Habits Can Sabotage Personal Growth, vitamin D also regulates the expression of over 900 genes, equivalent to 1/24 of our DNA. It turns the genes that lead to serotonin production on, and it increases anti-inflammatory genes, again, which are going to fight a lot of diseases. So the best way to get vitamin D is from sunlight. So about 10 minutes of unprotected sun exposure, specifically between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. is the best time to get it. And that's really all you need, 10 minutes of unprotected exposure. You still want to protect your face, so you want to limit the exposure to your arms, legs, abdomen, and back. And the next best way to get vitamin D is through your diet. So vitamin D is found naturally in some foods, specifically egg yolks, salmon and other fatty fish, and mushrooms if they have been treated with UV light. And if the mushrooms have been treated with UV light, it will say that on the packaging. Then there are foods that are fortified with vitamin D, meaning that vitamin D has been added to the food. So these are milk, yogurt, cheese, and fortified cereals. And now it's become a bit easier to calculate how much vitamin D you're receiving in your diet because food producers are now required to include vitamin D information on their nutrition facts labels. Prior to 2020, a lot of them did and they could, but now they're actually required to. The recommended dietary allowance for adults is 600 to 1,000 IUs, which is international units. So 600 to 1,000, but of course you want to check with your doctor and see what they recommend. And it can be difficult to obtain this level through diet alone, especially if you live in an area that doesn't receive sunlight consistently. You may want to consider taking a supplement, but you should definitely check with your doctor first because having too much vitamin D in your system is also a bad thing and can also lead to health problems. And there's another link at the end of the narrative post to it's an interactive table called Recommended Daily Intakes and Upper Limits for Vitamins and Minerals, and it was published by Consumer Lab. And so that can be very helpful to see what the recommended daily intakes are of all the different vitamins. Okay, on to the B vitamins. So B vitamins help us convert food to energy. Plus, they help us create and maintain cells. And last week we discovered that B vitamins can create epigenetic tags that turn cancer genes off, thereby preventing the formation of cancer cells. So the B vitamins are pretty important. There are 8 B vitamins, so you've probably heard of some of these and not realized they were B vitamins. So they are B6, B12, biotin, thiamine, niacin, riboflavin, pantothenic acid, and folate. I probably did not pronounce any of those correctly, but that's okay. You can look at the narrative post if you want to see how they're spelled. Okay. Folic acid is the synthetic form of folate. So you've probably heard of both folate and folic acid, and that's the difference. According to Todd Cooper, MD, most people can meet their B vitamin needs through diet and will not need to take supplements to receive their recommended daily allowance. B vitamins can be found in almost all foods: meats, fish, milk, yogurt, nuts, seeds, and whole grains, just to name a few. Folate can be found in dark green leafy vegetables, beef liver, avocado, papaya, orange juice, eggs, beans, and nuts. And I put another link in the narrative post. I put a link to a comprehensive article about B vitamins that was published by Medical News Today. And it includes all of the foods that contain B vitamins and recommended daily amounts for each because there's 8 of them. I was not going to include all that information in this post, but I gave you a link so that you can easily access it. Okay, now you have all this information. Now what are you going to do with it? Well, I hope that you can see why proper nutrition is a vital part of your intentional living goals. And I hope you'll take the information that I've shared with you and learn more about your nutritional needs on your own. And at the very least, I hope you'll implement one change in your daily habits to support your nutritional needs so that you can fuel your personal growth. And of course, I put a worksheet together for you. It will summarize this post because there's a lot of information in it. So it summarizes this post and it will help you go from inspiration to action. And until next time, stay curious.